Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next Level Strategies today. Glad you made it. So my name is Brenda Price, and this is my partner, Cindy Hewitt. And Cindy is here to present today. She'll have the presentation. Cindy nor I, do not provide any investment advice or endorse any products. We're educators and are not making investment recommendations. All information and materials are for educational purposes only, and all parties are encouraged to consult with their attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors before entering into any type of investment.
Now the lawyers are happy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce Brenda. Brenda is my partner in Next Level Strategies. She is a retired educator, and she's a current mortgage loan originator and also works in the mortgage note space. She teaches classes for us on the mortgage notes, and she got a huge portfolio of business that she's trying to sell some of them. So if anybody's looking for some rental property in Knoxville, she's your girl. Wrong way. I had two buttons to push.
And Cindy began her professional career as a public accounting firm where she did financial statements and retirement plan audits, internal control, and general business consulting. From there, she moved into the banking industry where she specialized in underwriting a variety of industries, including nonprofits, transportation, and commercial and residential real estate, and developing expertise in structuring and improving deals to manage risk while meeting the customer needs and getting the deals funded. So Cindy is working to scale her rental portfolio, partnering with other investors with creative strategies and private money lending. Her vision is to use these strategies and an abundance mindset to build a company that will empower, mentor, and educate her family members and create generational wealth. And she also likes to hike and do yoga and stuff.
So today's discussion is going to be centered on self-directed IRAs. I want to teach you the fundamentals of them and how they differ from traditional accounts, help you understand the sources of IRA funding, the investment options that you have if you have a self-directed IRA, important rules to follow when you are buying investment assets and you're self-directed, and then a little bit about the executive order that was recently released on alternative assets. So it's going to be pretty high tech. So we'll get started.
So what is a self-directed IRA? That's any type of IRA that offers a broad range of investment options outside of the traditional IRAs. Self-directed IRAs can hold alternative investments, like you could have real estate in your self-directed IRA, you could have precious metals in your self-directed IRA, cryptocurrency you could have in your self-directed IRA, or you could do private money lending or hold mortgage notes in your self-directed IRA. There's a long list of things that you can invest in. So they follow the same rules as other IRAs, including the contributing limits and withdrawal regulations. They can be traditional, like the tax deductible, or Roth, which is tax-free. The gain is tax-free. Self-directed means a custodian manages the account, but the holder controls the investments and bears the risk.
So I think sometimes people get confused on the self-directed accounts, and it's just a custodian. Like Fidelity is a custodian for regular market traded security, and Madison Trust is a custodian for self-directed investments. So it's the same, that's just a different custodian. Okay. So with the IRA, you can have different types. You can have, I need to stand over here so I can see the screen. So you can have a traditional IRA, a Roth, a SEP, simple, solo 401k, or a health savings account, or a Coverdell education savings account. So each of these types of IRAs, you have to have different requirements for whether that's going to be something you can invest in. The solo 401k, that's typically business owners use. I can't have a solo 401k now because my situation doesn't allow me to. My situation may change in the future. And if it does, maybe I'll get a solo 401k. SEP is simple. Usually those are corporate IRAs. Anybody can have a health savings account if they have high deductible health insurance. And most people can have traditional and Roth IRAs. So in this environment of self-directing your investments, if you have all of these set up, or even just the last 3 or 4, you can combine these together to make an investment. For example, we're going to be talking about a duplex a lot tonight. It's easy to understand and easy to apply. So if you have a solo 401k that has almost enough money to buy a duplex, and you just need a little bit more from your health savings or for your Coverdell, those 3 can go in together and buy a duplex. I just think about the Coverdell for a minute. If you start that when your child is born, and you contribute every year the max to that, then you can accumulate quite a large sum by the time the child turns 18. So how do you get your funds into your self-directed IRA? Well, if you have a solo 401k, you have the employee and employer contributions that's allowed. If you have a Roth or a traditional IRA, you can contribute $7,000 a year combined if you're under 50, $8,000 if you're older than 50, and there are some adjusted gross income limits to that. So you have to check with your accountant to see where you fall on this scale. The health savings account, you can put in $8,500 for family coverage for 2025. You can put in an extra if you're older than 55. And then the Coverdell is $2,000 per beneficiary per year. And there are some phase-out rules for that, too, to be aware of. But if you have 5 kids, you can do 5 times 2, so that's $10,000. And if you have the health savings account, that's $8,500, so we're at $18,500. And then your Roth or your IRA is $7,000, so you're at close to $27,000. Somebody do the math. So you can put in $20,000 just in 1 year for those 3 items. So you can build it up quick if you're consistent. Brenda is going to talk about the benefits of investing in a self-directed IRA.
Well, for the self-directed IRA, you can have tax-deferred growth in traditional self-directed IRAs. That's the traditional one where you pay taxes. You don't pay taxes, or it's a tax deduction when you put it in. But on the gain, you're going to be taxed. Then there's tax-free growth in your Roth self-directed IRA. So you pay the tax on that before it goes in, but once it's in there, there's no tax on the gain, which is great. And I think it's important for young people to recognize the beauty of that if they'll start young, get that self-directed, fully funded, grow it over their working years, and then not be taxed on the growth. So portfolio diversification beyond stocks and bonds into alternative assets like real estate and private companies and different things. So you could use self-directeds to diversify outside of what other type of investments that you have. There's greater control and flexibility, enabling investors to choose and manage assets that they understand. So sometimes when people come to us talking about they don't understand what's happening or agree with what's happening or really like investing with maybe in their stocks, and they want to do something that they understand, and they really understand real estate. So they want to invest in real estate with their self-directeds. Well, you can do that. Do what you understand. And some people really understand cryptocurrency, and they want to invest with their self-directeds with cryptocurrency. So you get to pick, what you understand and invest in that. It's access to unique, potentially higher return investments like real estate, precious metals, which can hedge against inflation, and support estate planning through tax-advantaged growth and the ability to pass diverse assets to beneficiaries.
So let me ask BJ, do you invest in cryptocurrency? Do you know anything about it? Okay, Corey, do you?
You what? I don't invest in crypto.
No. So, you know, crypto has gone up a lot in recent years. Bitcoin. Okay. So, what do you think if you put $15,000 in a Roth 10 years ago and you invested in Bitcoin? What do you think it would be worth today? I mean,
I look like one Bitcoin, like ridiculous amount.
yeah. I don't have the answer. It's a rhetorical question.
But yeah, no, let me explain something.
Yeah. And so if you, I wish I had a crypto guy in here, but if you had put 10,000, 15,000 in there 10 years ago and it grew to $1 million, that's not unrealistic, is it? In a Roth, you would not have any tax on that. It's tax-free.
Tax-free on the gain.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, the young people, please fund your Roth. Get it funded every year without fail.
Yeah.
You can do without the latte or whatever, and you really don't need a car payment. You think you do, but you don't. And fund your Roth, and then over time, you'll be so glad you did because you won't be taxed on the gain, and it'll compound on itself too.
Yeah. So what we got next? Okay. So how does this all work? You know, the IRS is going to, they give and they take, or do they ever give? They let us have IRAs. I guess that's a curveball or a softball. So there's a lot of rules that we have to be aware of. They're very important when you're investing in self-directed assets. Okay, so you can invest in many different types of investments. Like we were talking about crypto, you can do residential real estate, private money lending, mortgage notes. Brenda has a lot of information on mortgage notes. You can do syndications, joint ventures, precious metals. You can buy tax liens. So you don't have a lot of limits on the investments that you can purchase, but you cannot purchase collectibles, rugs, works of art, stamps or coin. You can't do life insurance or S-corps. But you can do gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. If you invest in precious metals, a separate custodian has to physically hold the gold in their place. You can't have custody of it at all. So that's how that works. Okay, so this is something else that if you're thinking of buying a duplex with your self-directed IRA, be aware that all of the income that you receive from the duplex has to go straight to your IRA. It can't come through you, and then you put it in. If your tenant pays you cash and you try to deposit it, you don't want that. All your expenses have to come straight out of your IRA. You can set up your IRA to pay expenses. If like annual property taxes, the IRA will pay it, or repairs, your IRA will pay all your expenses. You're not supposed to pay expenses. So no commingling of funds. So you can't pay back your IRA for something or have your IRA reimburse you. No bueno. Don't even try. Keep it all in your IRA. No personal benefits from your IRA. We'll talk about this a little more later as well. But the IRA, the rules are, it's designed for your retirement years. That's the way the system's built. And so sorry, probably need a drink of water. I can't stop talking. So the benefit that you're supposed to get from your IRA is in your retirement years. So you can't get any benefit now. So you own the duplex. You can't live in one side and rent out the other in your IRA because you're receiving a benefit from that asset. If you have, if your IRA wants to buy a vacation home to short-term rental, you can't go stay there because that's a benefit. And not only you can't stay there, but your lineal descendants, your parents and grandparents can't stay there either. They are disqualified persons. So we'll get into that in a minute too. There's a lot of prohibited transactions. Imagine that. So one thing you can't do with your IRA is lend money to someone that is a disqualified person. You can't provide services to your duplex. Your IRA owns a duplex and the toilet breaks or the foundation cracks. BJ can't go fix the foundation at his duplex that his IRA owns because he's providing a service to it. So he has to get somebody else to do it. And if BJ owns the foundation repair company, his foundation repair company can't do it either because he owns it. And that makes his foundation repair company a disqualified person. Any questions so far? BJ's going to build a duplex. He's going to...
So I actually do a on that. So being a work for the tech, can my company or someone else did the work?
Yes. Okay. It was if
Personally,
you can't. No.
Yes.
Because you don't own 50% of the company. So the disqualified persons, as far as receiving services or benefits from the IRA, are you, your spouse, your parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, any lineal descendant, any entity that is owned 50% or more by any of these people, and any fiduciary. So a fiduciary would be if you have an estate attorney who's doing planning for your IRA, then you couldn't contract with him with your IRA for other services. You have to be careful about that. So relatives not disqualified: brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, spouses, siblings, and in-laws. So, Corey, do you want your brother to come work on your duplex? No? You want to rent your duplex to your brother? Yeah. It depends on if you like your brother. So, but it seems weird that you could let your brother or your sister live in your duplex and not be disqualified, or prohibited. But
my mom or dad can't touch.
Your mom or dad can't. No.
Yeah.
Any other questions so far? We have time. Okay, Brenda, take it away.
So examples of acceptable transactions, I believe you already went over some.
I did go over some. There's some more.
Yeah. You can do money lending in your self-directed IRA. It goes very well together and completely acceptable. So if Cindy has self-directed IRA and she knows that Denise is flipping houses and doing a really great job at it, Cindy can loan money to Denise to purchase the property and renovate it. And that's fine. So you can do money lending out of your self-directed IRA. Just be careful with that and make sure you know who you're lending your money out to and what they're doing with it. You can hold the mortgage note on real estate. So if Cindy has a self-directed IRA and Denise says, I would really like to hold this property. Will you hold the note or be my money lender for 5 years at, something, an interest rate close to prime maybe? And Cindy would be like, yeah, I'll do that for 5 years and then just set it and forget it for 5 years. So you don't have to be real active with it. You can lend your money out as in the mortgage note world and hold the mortgage note. You can be the lender. You can be the bank, which is kind of hard for people to get their head wrapped around sometimes because they don't think about that. But you, the person that owns these IRAs, can be the bank to someone else and hold the note and bring in that interest, and that be the profit that you make in your self-directed IRA.
Mm-hmm.
You can partner with your cousin, but not your mom, dad.
Yeah. If your cousin wants to do a fix and flip, you can fund the fix and flip for him.
Okay. And leasing property, you can do that. You can lease property to your siblings. So if you have back to the duplex, you can lease it out to your siblings, but not your mom and dad.
But not your mom and dad.
So it's like a linear up and down, prohibited. But if it's out here, it's allowed, but not nieces and nephews.
No.
Nieces and nephews?
Yes, nieces.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. And I think what that boils down to is when you have that custodian that we talked about at the beginning, they'll tell you, they'll be quick to tell you and answer all your questions about what is acceptable and what isn't. And that's their role, is to keep you behaving the way that you are supposed to protect the qualified status of your self-directed IRAs.
Definitely.
Yeah. So choose a good custodian and they'll keep you straight.
So we got some prohibited, Brenda.
Examples of prohibited transactions: you can't borrow money from yourself. So you can't borrow money out of your self-directed IRA. You can't sell property to your IRA. You can't buy property for personal use, even if occasional. Personally conduct repairs on the property, we've already talked about. You can't contract with business that's owned more than 50% by the IRA owner to provide services. And no personal benefit can be derived from the asset in the IRA until future distributions are taken. So you're not going to benefit from the gain and the growth of the IRA until you reach the point where you're taking the distributions. So if a prohibited transaction occurs, the IRA will lose its tax-exempt status, and the entire IRA will be treated as a taxable distribution. So you want to avoid that.
Absolutely.
And
boy.
And this part,
quick.
This part, Cindy's going to talk to us about the executive order.
Yeah. Before we talk about the executive order issued by President Trump, I want to give you a little bit of history about IRAs. So prior to 1974, many companies in America provided pension plans to their employees. And there were problems in the pension system. Oftentimes pensions were underfunded, and maybe the company would go bankrupt, and their employees that were retiring didn't have a pension because of mismanagement. And so the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, or Safety Act, was enacted in 1974 to set up the 401k IRA system as we know it. So self-directed IRAs were allowed. There was provisions in the code that allowed for alternative investments, but nobody was running with it. Nobody was offering those services until the 90s, when specialized custodians began supporting these assets. And they have now given rise to the self-directed IRA industry. And so I want you to think about all the IRAs and 401ks we have out in this country, whether they're held at a company employer plan, or whether they're just you retired and you have an IRA. There's trillions. I think there's about $13 trillion of capital in the United States that is held in 401k and IRA plans. And so this bill, or executive order, it's not a bill, has challenged the industry to offer current employees of a company, the option to choose non-traditional or non-market traded assets as part of their 401k portfolio. So you know how the 401k system is set up now with your employer. They give you a menu of options that you can pick from. You can pick, mutual funds or divine or benefit plan for 2035. They have all these options that they'll give you. So what President Trump is hoping will be accomplished, that they will give you another menu item where you can choose to invest in alternative assets, such as we've been talking about tonight. So what's going to have to happen on that is it's going to take some time to implement that. They've got 180 days. So we have all these government entities that are going to get their stuff together and figure this out in 180 days. But you have the Department of Labor and the SEC and the Treasury just trying to set paths of how that should be regulated. And then your employer plan, just think about General Motors. They have a 401k plan, I'm sure, for their employees. They have to amend their plan. Every 401k has a plan document. And so they would have to amend that document to allow for alternative assets. Okay? And so I just geek out on processes and how to go from A to B and what has to get done to get there. But so when they amend their 401k document to allow for alternative assets, then they have to have a conduit. They're going to have to contract with some external entity to provide these alternative investments. Maybe they'll contract with some of the existing custodians, such as Madison Trust or Advanta. Maybe they'll contract through BlackRock, who does private equity. Don't know how that's going to turn out, but they're working on it, and they are figuring out the process. Now, note that this is not required for employers to offer that option. It's not required, but they're moving the industry that way. And you guys, we're already there because we are in this together. You're watching this video, you're attending these classes because you already know about the self-directed investment lane. So we're ahead of the game. So we need to keep being ahead of the game to see what's happening and jump in, while there's some momentum.
Yeah.
So again, employers are not required to offer this, and it's going to take time to get all the documents up to date and make the changes. I think there's going to be a lot of the custodians are going to be really busy trying to integrate with these big companies, because if you have a mid-sized self-directed IRA custodian who's doing work, then they contract with GM to take care of part of their plan. That's a big job. Mm-hmm. So I think the custodians are going to be busy trying to, integrate that. If you're going to pull another $1 trillion of money into a market, it's going to get busy. It's going to get busy. I think there's going to be opportunity there for people. So, Brenda, will you talk to us about the next steps?
Well, as you're saying that, I'm wondering, Cindy, about people that have self-directed IRAs now and they're not doing anything with their money. And it's just sitting there. And so they've got yield drag and it's not growing because they're not deploying it, because you have to do something with it because it's self-directed. So I'm wondering about that, if people go more self-directed, but then they're not actively involved in the investing of it. So I wouldn't try to be self-directed if I wasn't going to self-direct it.
Yeah,
you got to keep it out there.
You have to decide, like we talked about earlier, decide what you want to invest in and deploy your assets. Don't just let them sit there, because if you don't, they're just sitting there. They're not earning anything.
Yeah,
you're paying fees.
They're being devalued.
Yeah.
So you have to keep your money moving into something and keep investing. So as you consider that, consult your financial planner, talk to your CPA about what's best for you and your goals and your investing strategy. So it's not something to be taken lightly. Give it some thought. talk to the people that you need to talk to, take some time and figure out what you want to invest in, and then actually invest in it.
And I want to add on to that. This is a whole new world. It's a whole new lane of investing that a lot of people don't know anything about. So don't be surprised if your CPA doesn't know about it. Brenda's CPA does. Don't be surprised if your tax accountant doesn't know, or your Fidelity rep. They may not know about it. So, and they might try to dissuade you from it because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. So educate yourself and talk to people that are educated on it. And if they're not, that's okay. Ask them to get up to speed and get educated on it, and then book a call and have a conversation. But continue learning about self-directed IRAs by attending our monthly classes. And the custodian that you choose, they have classes. So custodians are great about having live classes and classes on YouTube that you can watch. And I'm a lifelong learner, hands down, lifelong learner. So this is something that I would encourage you to be a lifelong learner about too, is taking charge of your own investments and your own future and investing with your self-directed IRAs. Mm-hmm. And attend those local networking events to learn about successful investment strategies in your neighborhood. If you're in the Knoxville area, we're here the last Tuesday of every month teaching something. It's not always self-directed IRAs, but it's something to do with it, some way of investing within it. So come and see us, or watch us live, or find someone that you know, like, and trust to follow that's teaching about the self-directed IRAs. If you can't find that, call your custodian or call us, and we'll put you in touch with what you're looking for and get educated on the topic.
Okay, so how to open a self-directed IRA? It's just the same. If you have an account at Fidelity and you want to move it to Schwab, same difference. It's people overthink it. It's really not that complicated. If you have 15 stocks in Fidelity, you're going to have to liquidate your stock position, and then you roll it over into Charles Schwab. Same thing. You're just moving it over to a self-directed custodian. There's no tax event as long as you don't take a distribution, as long as you don't get the check, but you can just roll it right over. You don't have to, there should not be a tax event on it if you do it right. So you just pick your, oops, I had pushed the wrong button. There we go. Pick your custodian, fill out, get a new account, and fund it. Now, I encourage you, know what you're going to invest in before you set up the account. Because I know when I first started, it took me a year to actually set up the account. Because I was ready, I was like, right there. But then I'm like, well, what am I going to buy in my investment account? I didn't know. And so, well, I'm going to wait until I know, because fees are higher in the self-directed custodian. So, because Fidelity, I'm paying $0. I don't know how I got that gig, but I'll keep it. But the custodians are a little bit higher. So, select the investment. One thing you can do is we do private money lending, and we use other people's money to lend. So if you wanted to put your toe into the pool and test it out, we can deploy your funds for your IRA. And so that's one way to get started. Sometimes just take the first step, right? Mm-hmm. So you execute the transaction and you manage your investment. I mean, you can't provide services to your IRA, but you get to pick what you're going to invest in, and you get to call somebody and say, why are you not going over there and fixing the roof on the duplex? You still can manage it then that way.
And Cindy, I know you talked about partnering these accounts. Can I talk about that a little bit more? Because people call me often, and the question is, I have a small balance. How much do I have to have before I can start deploying this capital or investing or private money lending? And you don't have to have a large amount. You can partner So we're doing a deal right now with, there's an HSA and a self-directed IRA and another IRA, and we put them together in a joint venture agreement so that small balance can grow. So we can partner with other balances and make, and like she said at the very beginning, but it doesn't have to be your own. So you can partner with other people's self-directed IRAs too and continue to grow it.
Yep. Okay, what do we got next? Oh, I was talking about the fees. Different custodians charge different fees, so just be aware of the fee structure and make sure it meets your investment goals. I like to turn my investments pretty quick. I do private money lending, and I usually get paid off within 6 months. And I'm doing mobile home development, buying 2 mobile homes. So that'll be another about 6 months. So I'm churning my money. So I'm going to be more sensitive to transaction fees. Whereas if you have someone who just has mortgage notes and they buy a big chunk and they just let them ride for 5 years, those transaction fees are not going to be as big deal for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like fees. I'll admit it.
Add up.
So, you want to talk about these?
Well, you have a contact at Madison Trust, right?
We have Madison Trust. We have kind of a concierge service that we can employ for private lending. If you want to do private lending with us, we have a discount code where you can set up your account for, I think, $100 off and start private lending with us. Advanta IRA is another custodian. I met one of the representatives in Dallas last week, and I think is she in Florida? Or yeah, I think she's in Florida.
I didn't meet her.
You didn't meet her. Okay. And their operation, they offer a team environment. So if you were to have, like I was talking about before, if you had 5 Coverdell savings accounts for your kids, and then you had an IRA, your wife had an IRA, your brother had an IRA, they can manage all those together in a group. And so everybody's taken care of together, and they kind of understand your family's wants and needs and goals. And because one thing you need to think about, you don't need to just be a drop in the bucket somewhere in some custodian, you know? You want to have people that will help you and build a relationship with you. And so Madison has that. Oops, I keep doing that. One would think I would do better. Madison has that. Advanta has that. And Sense Financial is another good custodian. They specialize in checkbook IRAs and solo 401ks. So they're pretty, that's a niche that you're either in or you're out. The solo 401k has a higher, you can contribute higher amounts to it than traditional IRAs, depending on your income from your business that feeds the solo 401k. And then a checkbook IRA is, you can just write a check for your asset instead of sending the package to your custodian to have them approve the package. So,
and what's the pitfall there?
The pitfall there is that you could do something wrong and get yourself a prohibited transaction. But so
if you know what you're doing,
yeah,
self-directed that have checkbook control are very nice.
Yeah,
because you can just write a check, but you really have to know what you're doing. I don't recommend it unless you have a good understanding with it and you understand it.
I know one person I talked to, she wanted to do a checkbook IRA because she wanted to do tax liens, and that's something she could just quickly just write a check because there's some speed required for that and liquidity. And like I said, you can't pay yourself back. You know, if you buy a tax lien for $3,000 and you don't have your checkbook IRA, then you've just bought that out of your own pocket. So I like my checkbook IRA. I have both actually, but I like my checkbook IRA better. Okay. So, Brenda, you want to tell about our coaching packages?
Well, we're still working on that, but we are offering coaching and consulting, speaking engagements. Denise is helping us with that, right, Denise? Okay. So just reach out to us and we can talk about it, have a conversation.
So, here's the QR code. If you'd like to scan that, we can send you, put you on our mailing list and our newsletter and give you educational opportunities and more. And here's all of our socials and our phone numbers. So, any questions from anybody?
Have any questions, Orlando?
I was going to ask Orlando also. Dave, do you have any questions?
You look most so far.
Do you have an IRA? Is it self-directed?
Yeah, I have a Roth and I have a 401k. Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it self-directed or is it a regular market value securities?
it's regular market value. Well, yeah, it's regular market value securities. Yeah,
Is your plan doing good?
yeah,
Good.
yeah. I'm basically managing myself.
Yeah.
It's been doing pretty good over the last 5 years.
I think I do better at managing my self-directed than I do my stock account because with the but that's just me. But with a self-directed, it's like, I know what this is going to do pretty much. You know, when I lend money, I'll get the money back. And if not, then I'll foreclose. But I could buy too high on stocks and never get my money back.
I think the idea of it is you get to pick how you go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Okay.
That sounds very good, Cindy. Thank you for researching the executive order, telling us about that.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to watch that play out.
Yeah. It's going to be, there's opportunity out there for people that want to enter that realm because like half the people in the country don't even know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.